Hi, my loves. I hope that you're well. I've been doing some intense integrating and healing, and I wanted to share the fruits of my labor, what I've discovered, and I'm gonna call this video Black Widow and Bluebeard Archetype in Healing the Inner Predator. And this is such a special topic for me. It's been a long time coming for me to be able to realize this and acknowledge that that I have an inner predator within me, which creates situations where I experience predators out in the world, and part of it is from the trauma of when I was younger, that I thought that predator-prey relationship was real, and so the universe has brought situations in my life to go ahead and help me heal that and move forward and listen to my own intuition on how to get around that. So if you've watched any of my other videos, my philosophy on life is that there's nothing that happens outside of me that's not happening with inside of me. So this allows me to take a lot of my power back, because if I'm realizing I'm having the same experience over and over again, or it's an experience that's uncomfortable, I can come back to myself and ask myself, like, where is this coming from? What is wanting to be acknowledged? What is wanting to be healed in this moment? And I can sit in stillness and listen to that part of myself, and listen to my body, and start acknowledging those parts within me. I've been working with the Black Widow spirit guide recently, and she's taught me a lot about betrayal. And just kind of in the same token as the abandonment, if you watch my video on abandonment, I did do a betrayal one a few weeks ago too, that we can't be betrayed unless we're betraying ourselves in some ways. And so it's painful. It's painful to acknowledge that, okay, well, maybe I've been betraying myself in some ways. What ways aren't I being honest with myself? And the universe will always bring us what wants to be healed. And so that's what's coming up for me, is that the ways that I had been betrayed in the past were coming up for healing, but also in what ways was I betraying myself? What ways was I not trusting myself? What ways were I doubting in my ability and in myself? And healing those parts too, just sitting with them and acknowledging and listening to their wisdom, and then being able to move forward. And each time we move through and we heal another layer, the next time we experience it, it's not as devastating. So each time it gets less and less, because we get more skilled at acknowledging and honoring these parts of ourselves. And then it gets to a point where it's like, we realize, or at least I realize, that those that try to betray, those who try to cheat, those who try to manipulate and control, it doesn't really have anything to do with me. It has to do with the ways that they are wounded. We act out in the ways that we're wounded, and then being able to have compassion in that place. And so at that same token, one of my favorite books is Women Who Run with Wolves by Clarissa Estes, and she has a fairy tale in there about Bluebeard. And if you're curious more about the fairy tale, I encourage you to read the book. I don't want to spend the time going over it. But, that we all have this inner predator too. And we all have this aspect of ourselves that, maybe we don't act on it, but we feel it. And that part is hidden in the dungeons of our being. But it wants to come to the surface. And so we have these experiences that allow for that predator to come out. And it allows so that because we resonate with, if we experience a predator out there, there's a predator within us that is resonating at the same frequency. And it just wants to be acknowledged. It wants to be welcomed. It doesn't want to be hidden away or locked in the dungeon. It needs to be listened to because it has wisdom too. And once we can kind of honor and acknowledge that each one of us has an inner predator, has an inner black widow, has an inner bluebeard within our being, and we welcome that wisdom and we acknowledge those aspects fully, and allow for them to sit at the table, with the rest of our aspects, maybe the hero archetype and the mother archetype and father archetype and the child archetype, all these different archetypes that are within ourselves. Once it has a place on the table, then you can rely on its wisdom. And so, we want to do that because that predator can teach us how to see other predators that are outside of ourselves. So if we're befriended and we've acknowledged and we're honoring and we're listening to the wisdom of this inner predator, it could protect us. Because if you already have a predator at the table and you're friends with them and you're honoring them and you're listening to their wisdom, then a predator that you don't know is not going to be able to come up to the table because they're going to sense that there's that you already have that energetic frequency, and it's going to know that you've befriended that part of yourself, and that person's not going to act out in the real world because you've befriended your inner predator. But the more that we try and resist and we say, oh, I'm only love and light, there's no dark aspects within myself, and we deny that part of ourselves, that's when it can become nefarious. That little part can come in and wound us because we're not acknowledging it, we're not honoring it, we're not listening to its wisdom, and so we can become victims again. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of being a victim, and I'm tired of replaying that karmic roles over and over and over again with other people. And it's time that those who resonate with that victim mentality are able to break free. And the way that we do that is we honor that part in ourselves. We honor all these darker aspects, the denser aspects of ourselves. And the more that we honor it, it's like those darker aspects become the fuel for our joy. It becomes the fuel for us to be able to do our work in the world. If you're afraid of spiders, of the black widow, for example, then there's an aspect of yourselves that's not integrated, because you can't be afraid of something if you know the power of its essence. And every aspect has some way that it can assist us, and there's nothing that's outside that isn't here to teach us how to love ourselves more, to experience ourselves in new and different ways. That's why we're here on earth. And so being afraid of something, being afraid of the predator, being afraid of the Black Widow, being afraid of Kali, being afraid of Lilith, being afraid of these darker, denser archetypes, just leaves people vulnerable to be hurt by those who carry these aspects. And sometimes it's subconscious. Subconsciously we still act on these things, even if we don't realize it. And so my encouragement is really honor those darker, denser aspects. Honor the shame, honor the guilt, honor the depression, honor the despair, honor the hopelessness. It all has purpose. Honor the anger, honor the rage. All of it is trying to teach us something. And it's up to us to learn what those things are so that we can let go of it and just have another tool for us to use to learn to really love ourselves. And the more we love ourselves, and the more we're compassionate with ourselves, the more that we're empathetic with ourselves, the more that we can be that out in the world too. So I hope that you find this video helpful. I do personalized readings. I'll include my email below if you're curious. And I send you so much love today. And may you really get to know those beautiful, sacred, special, denser aspects within yourself. Much love.